Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second presentation of the final of the 2012 business case competition. We have here the students from the University of Hong Kong. They will deliver a presentation of 20 minutes again. I will again indicate the time left, 3 minutes left and 1 minute left. After the presentation, there's 20 more minutes of Q&A from the judges. We have here Tony Lee, Managing Director of International and Greater China of Corporate and Commercial Banking of HSBC. We have Raymond Tan, President of Luyện Thanh International Group. And we have Bonnie Fong, Associate Principal of McKinsey and Company. Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready to start the presentation?
Yeah, of course.
Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Very nice to meet you here again in this beautiful city. Do you know what I love most is to sit in front of the sea, enjoy the sea breezing, and have some nice seafood. However, some of you might not know that just right across the sea in a place called Philippines, some of the people are still in their sea, facing the sea, enjoy the breezing maybe, but they only make a living of $2 per day. Sad story as it has been, and sad story as it is, today we're going to talk about the beam line of the dawn. We have a social enterprises company which is tackling the problem and to solving the environmental problem at the same time. With that, I would like to introduce the team who is going to analyze this company and the cases today. We have Jimmy, me, Ricardo, Claire, and Noah here today. With that, I would like to talk a little bit about how we're going to tackle this problem and our analysis agenda. First of all, we will talk about the vicious cycle in Filipino and how it reinforces itself to introduce the poverty problem and deteriorating environments. And then we will talk more on our company and how its current existing business is operating. We will focus on its social impacts and business sustainability. Next, we will target our company to help it scale up its business, helping more people and eliminate more of the social problems at the same time. Next, we'll have some executing plan. Specifically, we're going to focus on several key issues, which is the major business we are going to grow, the figuring business, and we'll also talk about the problem between machine and label, as well as the human resources problem and the chemical problem. With that, we'll give you a plan on how the company is going to grow, both for the business success and for the social impacts. Next, definitely, a big part is the financing part. We will separate a whole segment just to talk about this. Last, we will give you a summary, and hopefully by that time, you will see more hope for improving living standard in Philippines. And you will also see a promising business back there. Next slide, please. First of all, we want to talk about the existing business they are operating in and the social problem, the social problem analysis will put in perspective about the social enterprises business operation. The social problem there is the Filipinos, especially the fishermen, have a very poor living standard. Around 1.3 million people are engaged in small-scale fishermen, which they make a living by fishing on the sea. And it actually constitutes 90% of the agriculture employments. And it's a very big chunk of the Philippine economy and their people. However, 80% of them are living below the poverty standard. And the deteriorating environments is adding more pressures on their ability to make a living. Next slide, please. The deteriorating environment make fishing and harvesting from the sea even harder. As we can see here, the capture rate is decreasing, and some of the people only make 1 to 2 kilograms of fishes after a whole day of exposure in the sea, fighting with the wave and expose themselves to the sun. And also there is a pressure from the commercial vessels, which makes the environmental even worse and even harder for the individual fishermen to make their living from the sea. Next slide, please. And happily, we are going to talk about some happy side. We have this company, in short, MGA, to help tackling this problem both to gain and commercial success and also to help eliminate a social problem. Its mission is to have helping the people by providing them employment, higher income, and of course better living. Also, they will focus on making a happier earth, which is to help protect the environment. Because we have shown before, the environment is a major reason for the poor living standard. And of course, health food for those people who enjoy their products. And they have three major business lines: the fishery, which is the harvesting from the sea, and the food processing, which is to packaging the food into a commercially available package in the supermarkets, and then the figuring, which is to cultivate and fostering the baby fishes and either sell them or put them back into the sea. Next slide, please. And we are very happy to see that the current business is operating well. For commercial success, they have positive bottom line on all the three major business lines, and they also have an annual growth rate of around 80% last year, and compound rate is over 2.8 times this from their starts. And they also have very positive social impacts. They raise the women workers' income almost threefold, and they also help to build a new ecosystem in the Philippines. We think that they have very positive impacts on the social aspects and also have a very sustainable business model. However, we want to scale up the business and help more people. For that part, it's actually more difficult, and I would like to handle the difficult tasks to my teammates. Please.
Thank you, Ricardo. So we are now given a business social enterprise that has demonstrated a feasible and growing business model to help the Filipino fishermen in need. However, this company has also set a very aggressive targets to extend this positive impacts to more people. Now it is currently directly employing only around 90 to 100 people under its business model. However, it has set the target to make this number to 10,000 within 10 years, to incorporate 10,000 households in its corporations. So how are we going to achieve these very aggressive targets? How are we going to set the priority of growing these three major business lines: fish, fingerlings, and processed products? We are going to make the decision based on the famous decision criteria of triple bottom line that a lot of social enterprise would factor into their consideration. So the three bottom lines are, firstly, the business, the bottom line, the profitability and growth of the business. And then secondly is the social impact, that the positive social impacts that it generates to the society. And thirdly, how much environmental harm that it brings to the society. So we will consider all three: social, environmental, and business consideration into making our future business plans. Next, please. So let's now firstly look at the business part. So currently, in terms of the allocation of the total operating costs, this company is putting the most emphasis on the fish business, which accounts for more than half of the total cost. And then the second largest segment is the processed products, which accounts for around 40%. And the remaining is the newly established fingerlings business. However, looking at the growth and profitability, indeed, the new segment of fingerlings is the most profitable one by demonstrating a 40% profit margin compared with the 15% of the other two segments, and also a 10 times growth rate in terms of the operating income that is generated for the company. In contrast, the fish business that is currently focusing most on is only have an average annual growth rate in the past 2 years of around 1.6%. So we believe that this company should actually focus more resources in investing in the most profitable and prospective business segment, which is the fingerlings business, in terms of the business decision criteria. And now let's look at the social decision criteria as well. Our goal of making the social decision criteria is to generate the largest social impact to the society. So currently, this company generates positive social impacts by two ways. Number one is directly employing people in its business operations. For example, in the processing plants or in the fishing processing, such as cleaning the nets, it directly employs the local people, especially women, into the process to give them employment opportunities, empowerment, as well as income. And another indirect source of income generation is making people, giving them the technology and the training to help them to become the MGV's suppliers. So this is an indirect way of empowering people, generating the income for them. So we hope this company can retain, expand of course, or at least retain these kind of positive social impacts that it generates to the society when it further expands. So this prompts us an issue that if we really expand into the processing plants business by replacing manpower with machines, it may actually not minimize, but lower the positive social impacts that we generate to the society. So this is something that we have to bear in mind when expanding the processed products business. And thirdly, looking at the environmental aspects, we hope to minimize the environmental harm that we bring to the society. So doing MGV's business, it will have to take the fish eggs from the sea, as well as maybe use some chemicals that other business do, and it will cause negative impacts to the environment. So what MGV hopes to do is to abandon these kind of, not to take up any of these processes. So it, and again, prompts a difficulty when we want to expand the fish business, because it will prompt us to use these kind of practices that MGV does not want to take part in, because it will bring negative environmental concerns. So after looking at these three bottom lines, what's our decision? We believe that in terms of business consideration, definitely fingerling is the segment with the highest growth and profitability. And in terms of social impact, process plants will help us the most. And in terms of environmental issues, they may be similar, but the lowest will be the fingerlings business. So after considering this whole chart, we believe that first, it should put most resources into enlarging its fingerlings business, and then secondly, into the processed products, and then finally, maybe gradually phasing out the fish business. So with these outline in mind, I'll pass on to Jimmy into further explaining how do we implement these priorities.
Thank you very much, Claire. Actually, after looking into the decision criteria of the triple bottom line, we here suggest to our client how they are actually going to execute the scale-up plan. First of all, is to really grow the fingerlings business, because in terms of profitability and environmental concern, is the business line that will create the largest impact. And actually, we have decided it should be a business that MGVs should focus. And in order to expand the business, actually, we will suggest MGV to leverage on this technology advancement, because it's recently won an organic feed mill pilot, and we suggest MGV to actually expand this pilot scheme to the whole operations in order to reducing the cost and actually expanding this business. And secondly, it's about the scale up of the process product plant expansion. And actually, this is a critical issue to the client, because the client is considering whether they should introduce machinery to actually scale up this product line. And we suggest to our client that they should introduce machinery to scale up this business line because of the social impact it can bring. However, we don't think that they should replace all the labor with machinery, because it's devastating against the MGV's social mission. We will suggest them to use a mixed labor and machinery strategy, which is having a division of labor between the women and also the machinery, because we can see the distinct business nature of this packaging business is that the labor can be used to actually handle more jobs that is not able to handle by machine, which is picking the bones from the fish, and also able to make judgment depending on the size of the fish. And for the machinery, they will be able to using it in the dryings, which can, and also the flavorings, and this can actually help to enhance the efficiency. And by actually doing this strategy, we're able to enhance the efficiency. And what are the implications to our client? Actually, in terms of economic term, we're able to scale up our business, and in terms of social term, because that we are able to scale up our business, and actually we'll be able to employ more suppliers, as this package business will require quite a lot of raw materials from the suppliers. And we will establish a social requirement to our suppliers to ensure that it aligns with our the company mission. And actually, by actually scale up this business line, we are moving a step towards the vision to actually have 10,000 suppliers or households involved in our business in 10 years' time. Although our client would like to start up the business, we will not suggest it our client to actually to enhance efficiency by introducing the chemical like artificial flavoring, because it's against the corporate value and the customer value. Next slide, please. And we do concern of two important issues in the execution plan, which is the internal issue of lacking human resources in expanding its business. It affects the scalability of the business, and because the business is refounder driven and they have only 5 technicians, it hinders the growth of the future business. And we will recommend them to actually to recruit more talents in order to expand their business. In terms of from the external side, that actually we don't see a client have a difficulty in recruiting business partners, because we can see from the figures that they have a large supply of suppliers, and then they don't need to be afraid of this issue. Next slide, please. And in terms, we have also suggested a marketing plan to our client in terms of how do they position their product and able to sell their product after the scale out. And here's that we believe that by actually having expansion into retailing and direct corporate sale, they are able to sell their product. Now I have the time to Lorna to explain the financial situation.
Thank you, Jimmy. So here is our financial projection, as our priority is fingerlings and processed products. You can see a rise of revenues in these segments. Also, as the change in net operating income reflects the efficiency gain, which is due to the introduction of the machinery we talked about earlier, and also from the premium paid by the customers because they prefer healthy products. And but this is we'll have to minus the social cost because we are providing positive social impact, and this might be some of our cost centers. So you can see from the right we have this chart of how revenues, operating income is going up, but it will level off over time because our goal is not only to generate financial return but providing social return as well. The next slide will be about our key assumptions, and I'll not further elaborate on the efficiency gain. The first one is that since we are to combine the human part with the machinery part, so we estimate the cost to be lower by 20% each year. And the second one is that since we have more suppliers, the cost of raw materials is expected to be declining. As to financing, in addition to retained earnings, we also have the cash award from making a difference conference with a US dollar of close to 20,000. Also, we also suggest some other financial assistance because currently the banks offers the interest rates on par with other commercial businesses. We expect we want to apply for grants from Stanford through Stanford Social Innovation and McKinsey on Society video conferences. We also want to apply for funds from some overseas institutions such as London SE Capital Market and banks that with high recognition of SE such as HSBC SE Center. And we also want to apply for funds from some impact investment agencies, for example 3i. And we also want to network with some intermediaries such as Seoul Asia. So with that, I'd like to pass the time to Ricardo to conclude our presentation.
All right, hopefully by this time, everybody had got a big relief. Although the situation has been bad, we do see the changes. It's not the changes from Obama, but it's the changes from the grassroots. Here we can see that we have 3 major business sides. They will be driving us forward, both commercially and socially. First, we'll implement the figuring business because it's the most profitable one and also the most environmental impactful one. And then we'll use the profit generated in this business to be reinvested in the processing and the figuring business so that we can have future growths. And by leveraging this money and also the new financing sources we're gonna tap into, hopefully we can build up our business on processing and figuring as well. And hopefully we'll be stepping into not only better living of the Filipinos people, but also a better environment for them to live in. Next slide, please. With that, Although the current situation is that we can only fish one fish or two fishes of 1 or 2 kilograms a day, hopefully by the new business plan, this is how it looks like. Not only more fishes in the sea that we can harvest from, but also we'll have factories on the ground with all the trucks running all the day, sending our products to the markets, provide better, higher quality food to the people in Philippines, overseas, and also make the living much better. With that, I would like to conclude our strategy. We will provide a better ecosystem, not only under the sea for the fishes, but also above the sea for the people living for fishing. Thank you very much and hope you enjoyed it.
Questions?
Can you talk a little bit about the relationship between fishing, fingerlings, and processed products? How do they relate to each other, and why do you plan to only put your focus into one part of your current business, and that's actually the smallest part of your current business? Why do you think that you can do that, and let's focus on the other two?
Okay, perhaps I can take the first question first, and my teammates will add on. So basically, their relationship is from the growth of the small fish called fry, and then into the bigger fish, but it's not yet ready to be used commercially for food production, and then finally growth into the big fish. So they take different, the stages creates different environmental impacts, as well as social and business impact. So in terms of the business impacts, we can see from the past performance that fingerling business is actually generating the most profitability and growth, mainly due to that it has its the company has its own factory to raise this from small fry to the larger fish, and then so it has the in-house facility and capability to do it instead of relying on other external resources. And it has demonstrated business potential. So, and it also generates very little environmental and social negative impacts. So we would like to focus our priority here. But in terms of the other two, especially for fish, we can see that in the past that the growth rate of net income is very volatile, and in the previous it is actually negative. So we believe that this is not one that in terms of business consideration we would like to focus on, and especially in terms of environmental impact. In order to scale up the business of this part, it might require the use of some chemicals or other negative impacts that will create on the environment. So due to our triple bottom line consideration, we think it does not fit on this bottom line, so we will put it on the lower priority and put the other one in the middle.
And here's the analysis given by Claire on the triple bottom line yardstick. And actually we can also look at the whole fishery market at a macro scale. Like we can see that at the fishing market actually is a declining market because due to the overfishing, and the market has declined from 20 kilogram per day of fishery product to 2 kg of program per fisherman. And this is not a really good market, so we do not really consider this market. And why actually we are focusing a lot of fingering, because it is again the high growth market, and also it is able to provide a stable support for the processed market, because for the processed market actually we have finding some fish and package it into product. And if we want to build up this capacity, we will have more demand on the of fish from the supply side. But actually the fishing, if we actually ask for a lot of fish from the fishing market, actually we are that again hurting the environmental bottom line. But then we are able to first build the fingerfin business, which is a more environmental business, and then we were able to provide a steady supply for our processed fish business. And just one last point to add on. So they all explain it by very complicated situation analysis because they are simply smarter. I will give you a more simple explanation. For the last pages, we can see this is the current situation. Why they have a very bad living? Because they only have that few fishes to harvest. If we start with the figuring, because we currently have 40% profit margin, we are considering redistribute some of the baby fishes into the sea. The actual figure needs to be determined after more detailed analysis. However, by putting more baby fishes onto the sea and have a sustainable harvesting, hopefully we're gonna have a sea like this. And with this, we believe that the other two businesses will grow, either for us or for other fishermen in Philippine living community. Hope we answered the question. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that explanation. I like that analysis a lot in terms of looking at the actual numbers. But if we just step back away from the numbers, can you just more conceptually think about new markets for us? So, I think a lot of discussion has been on which product line you want to focus on. And have you, as the team kind of thought about, maybe new geographies, new customer segments, new distribution channels? What are some of your thoughts about that?
I'll put it on. So basically, we are thinking that after all the analysis, we think that fishery is declining in nature. And then we think that the figuring is a big part because it builds a foundation for us to build on our future business. And then the other major part is about the processing, because this is the part that we can really reach out to the global markets. You can purchase a jar of the fish or jardin, which is made in this environmental friendly way and was shipped to Hong Kong. And it's very hard for the other business line. And this is what we're gonna propose is for these segments. Is later on we have sufficient money and we will invest them into machinery, combine them with the women labor forces to increase the efficiency and have lower cost but higher quality and more stable quality fish products. That is processed in this factory, and then we'll try to ship these products into different markets. And we see a big problem is for their existing operations because they only have three major outlets to sell this processed products: the hotel, the resort, and the souvenir.
Gourmet restaurants.
Great. And then they currently only have two outlets to sell this directly to consumers and individuals like us. And we believe there is a big potential here because we all know the beautiful beaches there. We definitely want to have a taste of that beach. Of the beach, sorry. Don't take that into video, all right? And then we believe this is a very attractive for overseas customers as well, and it's also a very scalable and with a lot of potential.
But first, we really need to build up the capacity, and then that's why our plan is really focusing on building up the scale of focusing on the scale of problem, which is the major critical issue the company is currently facing.
I think my question also revolves around some of the earlier ones. You mentioned, I think when I first heard moving from focusing on fingerlings and then eventually phasing out fishing altogether, it seems to be contradictory to how the company was first sort of conceptualized. And also in terms of what the Philippines government has invested, having fishing schools and training people, I think the mission of the company was, more both philanthropic and also economic. So by focusing on economics, then I think gradually then the other parts of the original intention would have been lost. So how did you arrive at that decision, and have you taken the other aspects into consideration?
Yeah, sure. Of course, as we can see from the employment part, they generate employments in two aspects. First of all, by directly employing the people. And second aspect is to generate business opportunity for the suppliers. And these suppliers, which are small-scale farming, small-scale fishermen, they can also, in this way, we can also increase the income and the employment. And we will not, because we have the tradition of training these fishermen, equip them with better tools and help them to develop a sustainable fishing practice. And we will still carry that out. So when we source our resources from the individual fishermen, we will have a criteria for them. Actually, this slides, but we will have a criteria for them to tell them what kind of fishes we will want. We only want that kind of fishes that is harvested in an environmental sustainable way. And also we will use our existing expertise and training system to help them have a better practice in terms of fishing. And we believe in that way, although indirectly, we can still solve the problem of the low income and poverty. And we believe this might be a more efficient way because usually individuals fighting for their earnings will have higher efficiency.
And on top of that, in the long run, actually we can see that the fishing market is really declining because of the decline in harvest of the total number of harvests. And actually, by moving towards the fingerling market, we are building up the fishery market in the long run and in the future. Because as Ricardo has mentioned in his conclusion, we are planning to rebuild the ecosystem in the sea, but actually able to put back some fingerlings into the sea. And the current strategy we are proposing is actually helping to build such a long-term investment into the fishery business. And we believe that as a pioneer in the fishery business, and we will be the ones who's taking the step to lead the future development of the fishery industry in Philippines.
Okay, thank you for that. But then what about the aspects as you move from a business having a large fishing operation and then over time eventually phasing that out? What about the people, the people that are involved in the fishing business? How do you cater for their well-being?
Correct me if I'm wrong, my teammates. I think currently we are employing around 90 to 100 people, and 30 of them are women working in processing farm, and we have around 30 working for the other aspects not directly related to fishery itself, and so the remaining part would be the fishery. So we think that the impacts of of not really laying them off, but give them a chance to still have the training, but fish on their own would be smart, especially considering the huge number of around 1.3 million of the small-scale fishermen existing in Philippines. And we believe that by focuses on the key strengths and provide more demands for the fishes by focusing on processing and focusing on figuring, we're gonna help the nationwide or at least regional-wide fisherman industry better than we simply hire them directly and ask them to go on the sea and fish for us.
Also, we should have made ourselves clearer that we are not phasing out of this business, which this is just our lower priority, and we are going to decrease the volume of this kind of business in the first 2 years, but after that we will not make any significant changes.
Well, in your presentation, you talk about no layoff plus machinery. When you say no layoff, that means you keep the output at the same level as before. Plus machinery means you're going to have increased output because the machinery is supposed to make you more efficient. But on the other hand, you're reducing that market in terms of the processing. Now, the question that I have is, if your competitor in the same field, they only invest into equipment which is more cost efficient than you are, how do you compete against those people? Because you are saying that, let me do part of my operation because I'm being socially responsible, I don't want to lay off those people. On the other hand, you want to bring in equipment so that you can bring in your efficiency. But then you are facing competitor who's going to give maybe better price, maybe even better quality because of this equipment they bring in. I mean, at the end of the day, when you have good automated equipment, tend to provide more standard quality to the market. But then when I look at your overall business assumption for the next 3 years, that does not tally. You follow what I'm saying? So maybe you can address that.
I will address that issue in 2 layers. So first of all, a little bit clarification for that. Sorry for the tiring competition. And then the way we are suggesting to putting the machine in is not directly replacing the label or to have the machine to handle the whole process. Because as we all know that when we go harvest in the sea, the fishes have different sizes. So if you want to take the bone out of fishes, the machine can only handle more standardized products. So that will have a lot of waste in terms of the meat, and a lot of the bounces will be associated with a lot of meats when they was disposed. And we believe in this part, the label still have its advantage. And don't forget that Philippines now doesn't currently still have huge supply of labor, and the labor cost is now lower. It's just like the 19th century of China, the 90s of the China. A lot of factories are combining machine with the cheap labor, putting them together, help to have the laborers handling those parts where labor have advantage, and use the machines for those parts is where machine have advantage. For example, in this cases, if we want to adding the flavor and stirring the fishes with the flavor, machine definitely save costs, increase efficiency, and ensure quality because it's more evenly distributed. And we believe in this way we'll keep the employment we'll keep the employment and we'll also increase the efficiency and increase our competitive advantage. And the second aspect of this question is that because this plan have to go with our new proposal on the marketing, targeting customer, and distribution channel. So we are not a fully machine-produced fishes. We are still using an environmental friendly way. So we hopefully by the marketing campaign, when you try our products, you are not only buying the fish itself, but you also have a sense of feeling to helping other people. And we believe this is a little bit of the premium and may create higher demands for this kind of products. Because at the end of the day, by adding no chemical flavor and make sure that the whole process is natural, we are helping your health as well. That's the three goals we have been talking about previously, the healthier people together with happier earth and a happier people. Thank you.
There's more time for questions.
Okay. So why don't we talk about the risk? What are the key kind of buckets of risk you see in your plan, and what are some of the things that you might want to do to mitigate against it?
Actually, it's about, first of all, it's about the financing issue, because although we are able to get price from the MAD, however, having to scale up this business will require some extra capital. And then actually, because as we have mentioned already in our plan, is that there's some the local banks has a low incentive in supporting the SE business, and the plans we have actually proposed is to actually seek help from the overseas market for example, there's like a human capital, capital market for like SE in London recently established, and also there are a lot of organizations in the world actually supporting the growth of SE, and this is a really reliable and low cost of fundings that our client company can seek help from.
And another risk is the possibility that the customers and employees might not buy in the idea of social value. So in order to tackle this problem, first the company needs to keep the price at the same level as their competitors, not to charge too high a premium. And another way is to really educate their customers and maybe even educate the next generation of the founder in order to build this social value into the family value and the value of this corporation.
One last question.
One last one. Just tell me, I can feel your model try to balance profitability and social responsibility. If you need to pick profitability versus social responsibility, which one would you believe is more important in this particular business?
I would say profitability, because with one firm cannot really maintain its profitability, it cannot sustain in the business. And if it cannot sustain in a business, it will not able to create any social impact anymore. So we definitely think that social enterprise is a business with a social mission. But first of all, it really needs to tackle the bottom line as being sustainable as a business. So the profitability is a really important issue. And with this stable foundation of profitability, it's the only way it can further advance the business and to provide more social impact. So we think that in this aspect, the profitability is the more important issue to consider.
And we also believe that social value is a long-term consideration, because the companies, when it scales up, when it makes profit, the society has higher expectations for it. So it has to meet the expectations over time. So why do not invest in this social responsibility and social value at the beginning? So we believe that profitability is the value that we have to carry on, but social value is the more of a long-term investment.
It concludes the Q&A session of the second presentation of the final.